The story comes to us from news at yahoo.com. Yahoo! Now, you remember what some people were calling the insurrection. Some were calling it patriotism. Some were calling it treason. Back in earlier this year at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Remember that? All the people went to the U.S. Capitol. Well, apparently, the guy with the Fred Flintstone buffalo head, I think, is probably the most famous guy that was out there. But maybe on the top 5 of the most popular people at that insurrection, patriotism, treason, whatever you want to call it. Name your poison. Apparently, her white privilege card expired or didn't, she overspent on it. So Capitol rioter Jenna Ryan has been sentenced to 2 months behind bars despite believing her white privilege card was going to protect her. We'll get to that in a second. The real estate agent from Texas pled guilty in July to a misdemeanor charge of parading on Capitol grounds in connection to what they're calling the insurrection. Although she faced up to 6 months in prison, Ryan will only serve 60 days beginning at the top of next year, that's in January. She's also fined $1,000 as well as $500 in restitution, according to the sentencing on November 4th. She can afford that. She's a rich real estate agent that takes private planes to Washington, D.C.
Jenna Ryan pleaded guilty to 1 count of parading, demonstrating, or picketing in the Capitol building. She was sentenced to 60 days in prison and will pay $1,500 in fines, saying in court today, quote, "I made a mistake and I'm sorry, and this is not anything that remotely resembles who I am." But some are questioning whether that contrition is genuine.
Now remember, Ryan, age 50, enthusiastically shared photos and video from the U.S. Capitol where she and thousands of former President Donald Trump supporters converged with a common goal to overturn the election results that determined Joe Biden as the 46th president of the United States. And there was a huge crowd there. The rioters were anything but peaceful. Remember, they climbed over the barricades and they went into the building. And now the U.S. Department of Justice and the FBI have worked for months to bring rioters to justice. Thus far, more than 650 people have been arrested. Those, with the exception of Ryan, who pled guilty to misdemeanor charges, have only been sentenced to probation and home confinement, whereas those guilty of felony charges are facing prison.
On March 26, Ryan posted on Twitter saying, quote, "Definitely not going to jail. Sorry, I have blonde hair, white skin, a great job, a great future, and I'm not going to jail. Sorry to rain on your hater parade. I did nothing wrong."
I think that is a travesty. I think that everybody should be able to tweet without being persecuted and treated like crap. So it's, watch what you tweet, because if you tweet, you can go to jail. I regret ever tweeting, but, it's a free country, and I'm allowed to say, it's free speech.
Well, Jenna Ryan, we're sorry to rain on your parade, but your white privilege card has been revoked. You overspent. I think the blonde hair, white skin thing might have did it. I don't know. Maybe it could have been the great job and great future. But apparently, she is going to jail for 60 days. Now, Ryan, who self-identifies as a patriot, received a prison sentence for lack of remorse in participating on the chaotic and fatal day. And it is fatal. People died that day, some of the officers. The punishment for participating in a destructive protest apparently was unexpected by Ryan, who has boasted on social media that being white, having blonde hair, and a good job would insulate her from seeing the inside of a jail cell. But she also wrote this on Twitter. They're quoting her as this. Well, it's their tweet right there. "I'm just going to make a blanket statement to all the people that are calling me and texting me. You win. I'm going to prison, so you don't need to contact me anymore. Pop champagne and then rejoice, but just leave me alone. Thank you." Gee, I guess you lost. Yeah, we win, and your white privilege card got shredded.
In handing down the sentence, the judge noted that Ryan was not being prosecuted for belief that the election was stolen, but for the decision to go into the Capitol building that day. That judge adding, quote, "Your case has generated a fair amount of public interest, and I think the sentence should tell them that we take it seriously and that it should never happen again," end quote.
She went on to tweet again. Boy, this girl's worse than Donald Trump, who, by the way, remember she asked him, "Hey, you told us to go there, Mr. President, give us a pardon." Remember she asked, her and some others asked Donald Trump to get involved and go, "Can you get involved and find us not guilty? Come on, we did what you told us to do." He didn't tell you to go storm the Capitol building. He just said, come up to Washington, D.C. and let's rally together. That's what a lot of the legal and lawful people were doing out on the street. They're not going to prison or jail. Now, but she tweeted here, "I am not going to prison for the things that I said or standing in front of the broken window." You're going to jail for what you standing in front of a broken window. But she said it is for walking in Capitol for 2 minutes, and what the judge says is to serve a deterrence to others, since I have a high profile, which I got after the fact thanks to mainstream media smear campaign. There's no smear campaign. You broke the frickin' law. You went past police barriers up to the U.S. Capitol building where you weren't supposed to be, stood on the Capitol grounds, and then went into the Capitol building. Just going past that police barrier was a crime.
Ryan is not going to jail for a tweet. She's headed to prison for her admitted role in the January 6th insurrection. She's expected to begin serving that sentence in January of next year.
This chick thinks, hey, I was just doing what Trump asked me to do. I'm just a poor white privileged girl. And you're serving 60 days in jail.